it's something that we do periodically, and it's around communion. And we give people an opportunity, if you're in a position to give, and if you're in a position to receive, to receive. And it's a beautiful picture of the Lord's table, and it has all of the juice and the bread, and then it has the giving, all of the monies spread out on the table. And we do it privately. We try to do it with, close off the tables, and then we give people the opportunity to give and then to receive. And it's our way of saying that we want to care for this community here at Stone Coast. That we want to give you an opportunity to bless one another, to care for one another in a very tangible way. And I thought that during this time, during the season, it can be very difficult on people. And so I just wanted to thank you because your generosity is off the charts. It's humbling to watch that. Like as you go, I don't know how you experience the table, but as you go through the table and you see the offerings and you see the gifts and you see people's generosity laid out, it's a beautiful picture, absolutely beautiful. And so I know that some of you were able to receive from that, and I just ask that God bless you in that, and having the courage and understanding there's nothing to be embarrassed about. We talked about that. There's this thing about receiving that's beautiful, and so I hope that you were able to just enjoy God's blessing in that. So, but talk about that on the back end of this, because I think it's a neat thing, and it's a picture to me of what the New Testament church is meant to be. So with that, I've got a few minutes left because we're going to try to end a little bit early so that we can enjoy breakfast with one another. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the Holy Spirit this morning. And just to back up a second, is like we talked about Israel a couple weeks ago. We said that Israel was meant to be the rescuer of all of humanity. And yet they fell short. Israel then needed to be rescued. So the rescuer needed to be rescued. And hence why Jesus Christ came on the scene. And we talked about how in Jesus, in his resurrection, he launched new creation. And that from that point going forward until he comes again, that we are part of ushering in new creation. We talked about 4 echoes of a voice with beauty and relationships and spirituality and justice. And that's why we're here as the church, to go out and be the light and make a difference. And so during this Advent season, I love this idea. Last week we talked about hope, and then this week I wanted you to see how peace is interwoven into this teaching on the Holy Spirit. That this symbolizes so much of what I think Stone Coast Community Church is here. That we are called to be the light. When Mark shared with me what happened yesterday, I wrote back because I'm always reminded in those types of difficult situations how important the local church is. And I said this to him, and it probably came off wrong in the text, but I said, that's why it's so important to start inviting people to church and then to Christ. And I say it that way because usually that's how it happens. And he's like, I was wanting to invite him, and I didn't, and I didn't mean for him to take it that way. But it was a reminder to me the importance of us being the light. That when we take a chance and we are that light in someone else's life, that you don't know how God's going to show up. You don't know where the gift's going to be. And so when we talk about the Holy Spirit this morning, that's our guide. The Holy Spirit guides us and empowers us and leads us to be able to hear God's voice and to be obedient to it, to be empowered to follow through. And so I want to read to you from John 20, and I want you to capture this is after Jesus' resurrection, but listen to where it talks about peace, and then I'll transition into the Holy Spirit part of it as well. It says, on the evening of that first day of the week, when the disciples were together, with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders, so that's very important, that they thought that they had lost their Messiah, the one that was going to set them free and establish a new kingdom and overthrow Rome, was now dead. And now they're locked away in fear. The fear of the Jewish leaders. And then Jesus came and stood among them, and he said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and his side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. Again, Jesus said, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." And with that, he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive anyone's sins, their sins are forgiven. If you do not forgive them, they are not forgiven." This idea, I was like, why does he say, "Peace be with you"? I think it goes so far beyond that this was just the normal way of greeting someone back in the day, which it was. What I think he's doing is he's bringing back all of the promises. And actually, when you talk about peace, sometimes it means a covenant kept. I think this is Jesus looking at them and looking them in the eye, because I think this is, I don't know if it's the second or the third time that he shows himself to them after his resurrection, but he's trying to get their attention. He's saying, "Peace be with you. Remember all that which came before. Remember that covenant with Abraham that I know you know so well. And you thought it was going to happen in a certain way. But I've come to bring peace." And then think about the Sermon on the Mount, where he calls us to be peacemakers. And he's saying this is a different kind of kingdom. This is a different way of doing this new way in which Jesus gave his life for. He's trying to call us out to this idea of peace is in the midst of turmoil. Will you still remember the covenant? In the midst of when life isn't going well, will you still remember the covenant? Will you still have a peace that's in you that says, "I am sending you into this world where it's still broken. There's still despair. There's still things that need to be put right. Peace be with you." Because it's in that you'll find your security. It's in Christ that you'll find your strength. It has nothing to do with us in ourselves. It has everything to do in the risen Christ. And it's in that that we can find true peace. He's the one who's sending us. And then it says to receive the Holy Spirit. This idea is that he's sending us knowing that we're going to face these hard times. So we're going to need to be empowered. We can't do this on our own. Hence the church, when we come together, all those who have received the Holy Spirit empowered. But they're stuck in fear. They're paralyzed by fear. They haven't launched this new creation yet, right? They're locked up in this room. We're going to have some fun with that. But it says in Scripture, it says that God did not give us a spirit of timidity. He didn't give us a spirit of fear. He gave us a spirit of love and of power and of a sound mind. That's the spirit that God gives to us. And I just want to take a minute to talk about the greatness and the bigness of God. Because we took a whole week and we talked about how big our God is, and sometimes we make him out to be so small. And I just want to take the three occurrences of the Holy Spirit. The first one is in Genesis. Because a lot of times the Holy Spirit gets overlooked in the Trinity. Right? We talk a lot about God, and we talk a lot about Jesus. But many of us don't talk a lot about the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is the one who's present every day of our lives, who lives inside of us. It says that we're the temple now. And the Spirit of God lives inside of us. But look in Genesis, this Spirit was with God in all of creation. And it says in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and void. And darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. And then in a different translation, it says that the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And I just want you to picture, over all creation, this Spirit of God was hovering. It's the Spirit that was going to give life to the original creation. And then another pivotal moment is in Jesus' baptism. And in Luke 3, it captures this. When all the people were being baptized, Jesus was baptized too. And as he was praying, heaven was opened and the Holy Spirit descended on him in bodily form like a dove. And a voice came from heaven, "You are my Son, whom I love. With you I am well pleased." Take that back to what I read to you in John 20. This idea, peace be with you. It's saying that I'm well pleased with you. When I send you, those that go in my name, I am pleased with you because you're accepting this mission. You're part of rescuing. And that's what God wants for each and every one of us. And then now at this thing called Pentecost, in Acts chapter 2, if you want to spend some time this week, I would really encourage you spending time reading Acts chapter 2. Because this is when I believe that the church was launched. When the disciples truly got it. Because they were empowered and filled with the Holy Spirit. And it says, when the day of Pentecost came, they were all together in one place. Suddenly, a sound like the blowing of a violent wind came from heaven and filled the whole house where they were sitting. Kind of captures creation a little bit. They saw what seemed to be tongues of fire that separated and came to rest on each of them. All of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other tongues as the Spirit enabled them. Now, I want to put out a different thing, because a lot of times I think people think about speaking in tongues in that verse. If you read it further, you might see a different connection. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I'm saying maybe there's more to it. Anyone remember when we showed that video, we talked about the Tower of Babel? We just talked about it for a second. But this is important that you get this. At the Tower of Babel, God's creation, right? All of his people that were created started to go, I'm kind of like God. We're kind of resourceful. We're kind of smart. We can build this huge tower. And it can like reach to the heavens. We're able to do that, you and me, because they all spoke the same language. And they were able to do this in their abilities that God had given them. But what did God do? This is important. The Tower of Babel, he said that he dispersed them. And he caused them to speak in different languages so that they could no longer communicate and think that they were God. That they would serve the one true God. So think about that. And then you have the whole story of Israel. We talked about that. And how there's this restoration process going on and going on. Here at Pentecost, I put before you to consider that this is God restoring everything that was lost. The Tower of Babel. He dispersed everyone because they thought they were God. And now at this time, when he's launching his church, he goes, I need you to be one. I need you to be unified. And I need this sermon to come to a close in 5 minutes so we can go to a breakfast. Do you get this? So like he's now saying, all of you can understand, and they're all coming from all different places, all around, all the different nations. And here they are at Pentecost, and now they can all of a sudden understand one another. And we're getting empowered by the Holy Spirit. Why? Not to feel good. It's so you can be part of new creation. Okay, so that's the bigness and the vastness of the Holy Spirit on that macro level. Now bring it back to the micro level. Think about your own life. The Holy Spirit is here to change and to transform us. We say, come as you are, but leave transformed. I want every person to feel welcomed here. But I want you to be transformed into the very being of who Jesus Christ was, into his image. So this Holy Spirit is part of transformation. Now, one of my favorite characters and favorite stories is about Peter and his transformation. And let me just encourage you for 5 minutes. Because Peter, to me, captures what the Holy Spirit does in each and every one of us. Remember this, when Jesus first came on the scene, he was going around, he was looking for people, and he said, just come and follow me. And Peter was one of the leftovers, if you know the time, meaning like he didn't get accepted by a rabbi. So if you were one of the smartest, you would have had a rabbi. He didn't get that, so he went back to what he knew was fishing. And Jesus met him in what he was doing. And he gave him a greater vision. He said, I'll make you fishers of men. And Peter grabbed onto that. Someone believes in me. And I'm going to be a fisher of men. Come follow me. And he's bold and he's courageous and he runs. And we know a lot of stories about Peter. He makes a lot of mistakes, right? But he's always that guy who's ready to take on a challenge. Peter's also the one at Pentecost who's locked up in fear. Peter's also the one who, before the crucifixion, we know that he denied Jesus 3 times. Right? It's an amazing story. This guy who's tough and bold and courageous. But when times were toughest for Jesus, he said, I don't know the man. And he did it 3 times. So it brings us to this story, post-resurrection. And this story is the most beautiful story about someone being reinstated, someone's life being transformed. So think about if you're Peter, you just denied your Lord and Savior 3 times. And then you watch him get beaten and crucified. And then 3 days go by and you don't know what's going on. And you're fearful. And you're thinking you're going to get killed. So what does he do? Because we do this all the time. When life gets out of control, we go back to what we know. We go back to what is comfortable. And we lose sight of God's vision for us. I created you to be a fisher of men, Peter. But here you are, you're going back to fish for fish. When times get tough, what do? So one night, Peter gets a couple of his buddies together and they go out fishing. And it says they're out fishing all night long. They don't catch one fish. In the early morning, the sun starts to come up and Jesus is on the shore. And he asks them, how's it going? I haven't caught a thing. Why don't you put the net out on the other side, guys? That in itself is embarrassing. I'm a fisherman. This is what I do. This is who I am. Who are you to tell me how to do this thing? But fine, I'll do it. And we all know that the nets were overflowing with fish. And then finally, one of them recognizes that it's Jesus on the shore. And Peter just tears off. Needing to get before him. Needing to get before the one who he wanted desperately to believe in. And here he is. And Jesus looks at him and says, Peter, do you love me? He says, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. He says, then go and feed my sheep. Jesus looks at him again and says, Peter, do you love me? Yes, Lord, I love you. Then go and feed my lambs. And the third time, a lot of people think it's because Peter denied him 3 times. That Jesus was making right again. I want you to be whole. I want you to get this Peter once and for all. Peter, do you love me? He says, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Go and feed my sheep. Now, that in itself is amazing. Because our God loves us that much. He'll give us chance after chance after chance just to get before him, to be restored, to be forgiven, to get a second chance to keep going. But it's so that you can go and feed my sheep. So you can go and be the light. So you can go and restore what needs to be restored. Get into those relationships that are broken, they need healing. Get into the place where no one else will stand. Stand in the gap. Make a difference. Stand up for what's right. I need you to be the light, Peter, the church. I need you to be the church. Let me read, I'm concluding this because in Acts 2, now Peter, Jesus ascends. And this is what happens when you really get it. Now Peter is standing among all the leaders of that day. And all the Jews who are sitting there. And they're wondering. Picks up in verse 22. It says, fellow Israelites, listen to this. Jesus of Nazareth was a man accredited by God to you by miracles, wonders, and signs, which God did among you through him, as you yourselves know. This man, the one I denied, think about his courage right now. This man was handed over to you by God's deliberate plan and foreknowledge. And you, with the help of wicked men, put him to death by nailing him to the cross. Right to his accusers, right to the ones who killed him. He's having this boldness, he's speaking right to them. But God raised him from the dead. Kind of talking to himself, freeing him from the agony of death, because it was impossible for death to keep its hold on him. This is a story that's been told from generations to generations to generations. This is the hope that we have. Now he goes back to his heritage. David said about him, I saw the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand. I will not be shaken. Therefore my heart is glad and my tongue rejoices. My body also will rest in hope, because you will not abandon me to the realm of the dead. You will not let your Holy One see decay. You have been known to me the paths of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence. Can you see Peter getting it for the first time? He knew these scriptures in and out, and yet it's finally now that he's declaring it. Fellow Israelites, I can tell you confidently that the patriarch David died and was buried, and his tomb is here to this day. But he was a prophet and knew that God had promised him on oath that he would place one of his descendants on his throne.
Seeing what was to come, he spoke of the resurrection of the Messiah, that he was not abandoned to the realm of the dead, nor did his body see decay. God has raised this Jesus to life, and we are all witnesses of it. Exalted to the right hand of God, he has received from the Father the promised Holy Spirit, and has poured out what you now see and hear. This is the evidence laid out before us. For David did not ascend to heaven, and yet he said, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. Therefore, let all Israel be sure of this. God has made this Jesus, whom you crucified, both Lord and Messiah. When the people heard this, they were cut to the heart and said to Peter and the other apostles, brother, what shall we do? And Peter replied, repent and be baptized, every one of you, in the name of Jesus Christ for the forgiveness of your sins. And you will receive the gift of the Holy Spirit. The promises for you and your children and for all who are far off, for all whom the Lord our God will call. With many other words, he wanted me to plead with them. Save yourselves from this corrupt generation. Those who accepted his message were baptized, and about 3,000 were added to their number that day. Peter's life was transformed because God gave him a vision. Scripture says that people perish for the lack of vision. This is new creation. This is my kingdom here and now. For those of us who are forgiven of our sins and receive the Holy Spirit, are empowered to serve our Lord and Savior with everything that we have. We need each other to be energized so that we can get up every day to bring his kingdom, to be the light. So this morning I ask you to think about how can you be the light of peace this week? Where do you need to say, God, send me? Send me to be in peace. So my brother and my sister are hurting. Will we have the courage to say yes? Let's pray. Father, we thank you for your word. We thank you for Peter's boldness. That he didn't stay paralyzed, locked up in a closet scared. But Father, you set him free. You envisioned him to become all you had him to be the rock, to be a fisher of men. Father, you launched your church. Father, help us to be a church that isn't filled with fear or trepidation, but filled with power and love and a sound mind. Have your way in us, God. Do your work inside of us so that we can go and be the light.